episode of the Alamo City Sportscast with Mike Jimenez and Joe Garcia. Make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Join the discussion as we broadcast live from beautiful West San Antonio. And remember to tip your hosts as it helps the show grow.
Happy Monday, everybody. My name is Mike Jimenez, and this is the Alamo City Sportscast coming at you from West Bexar County. Again, my name is Mike Jimenez. Joe Garcia is off today. He's been off the past 2 weeks. He's doing training for the Department of Homeland Security, his new job that he's starting over there. He's going to be back next week. Okay, so 3 weeks of training. We're now beginning week 3. We usually start at 10 o'clock, but it had to be a little bit delayed today because of technical difficulties. I needed Joe's passcodes to get into the podcast. So apologies for that. We have a big show today. We're talking about the Cowboys and Texans. Lots to cheer about. I mean, I know some games they were won, some games were lost. Fact of the matter is it all depends on what happened the first 2 quarters, right? Who cares about the Texans as long as CJ Stroud looks good, right? Who cares about the Cowboys unless certain players look good? Trey Lance, what do you think? Question about the Cowboys. Should the Cowboys be playing Dak Prescott by now? We see the Texans out there playing CJ Stroud for a quarter and a half. Dak Prescott, I know he typically sits out most of the preseason, but should he already be out there? Should he have already been out there to begin with? We need to get also into ticket prices for San Antonio Spurs games because Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs and Ken's 5 had an article, he posted it again today, talking about the fact that secondhand seats, those second-generation seats from like Vivid, SeatGeek, StubHub, and things like that are going up 150 to 200%, depending on where you want to sit. Got to have a conversation about that. Our streamline is open. Again, we're live right now on Facebook and on YouTube, but you can take part in the show by going onto our YouTube stream and leaving comments. We have Sam Salinas in the house already saying, "Morning, boys." From across the Atlantic Ocean, Garrett is in here from the Netherlands saying hi to everybody. Sith is in, Mario Cavazos already in the chat line as well. We're going to have a special guest, and it's funny because when it comes to the special guest, I had asked him to be on the show earlier this past weekend, and I got up this morning, and I got on social media, went on Facebook, and if you go on Facebook, they sometimes will give you like memories from the past, and today's memory was, apparently today is my 5-year anniversary of being friends with James Pledger from San Antonio Sportscast. He hosts Extra Innings from 6 to 7 p.m. on 94.1 FM. 5 years friends with James Pledger, my boy, my buddy. I'm going to bring him on right now. Pledger, how you doing, my man?
I'm good. What's happening, Mike?
Dude, we have been friends for 5 years. Now, you're on the road. You're heading to the station right now, so typically you would join us, and we would see your handsome face. But today, we're just going to get your voice. But 5 years, man, it's been fun.
It's been a hell of a time. I'll say it's been 5 years that have flown by. COVID and everything just put us through a time warp, it felt like.
You know what's so funny about it is that I remember the first thing you ever said to me, Pledge. I remember the first thing. I had auditioned for Rock the Mic 4. And it was the last day of auditions, and I went to the Slackadochus location. And I thought, well, I'm just going to see what everyone else does. You know, there's 20, 30 people in line to audition. Apparently, I was the second person to audition, so I had no idea what was going on. And everyone had these prepared 1-minute takes, and I had nothing. I had nothing. And I was like, oh, I'll just wait, and I'll just kind of get the vibe of it all. And it didn't happen that way. They were like, Michael, you're next. And I just went out there and started riffing about the bets I was going to make in Vegas later on that weekend. And Pledger, you looked at me and said, what? What did you say? What did you say? Do you remember? Ooh, Pledger kind of dropped off there for a second. Pledger told me at that point, I have heard worse. But that is my boy, James Pledger. He's on the road.
Yeah, I said I heard worse.
Yeah, I heard worse. And it made me feel better, you know, because to me, that was your way of saying that you liked it. That's what I get, baby. Lots of people.
No, they think it sucked. There's a difference. You were talking about going and laying money on the Aggies. When is that ever a good idea?
It's not, dude, sometimes bets are not about what you think is going to happen. It's whether or not you're getting the odds to seduce you into doing so. Sith is coming out to us on our YouTube stream saying, "Ay, flaco, slimming down, dog. Pledge, today I hit 20 pounds lost here."
Oh, nice. That's good.
20 pounds. So I would say a little bit more than a year. Probably in the last 18 months, I've lost 20 pounds. I keep a diary on Map My Walk and Map My Run and My Fitness Pal. So 20 pounds, man. Come and gone. I'm slimming down a little bit. I'm at the lowest in 2.5 years.
Your weight fluctuates like Cowboys fans during the regular season, man. We're going to the Super Bowl. I'm at my lowest weight ever. I'm working out every day. Oh, no, we lost in the first round. Oh, I'm not going to work out anymore. I put on 30 pounds eating and visiting my daughter at LSU. I don't know if you know this, but she goes to school there. Graduated from there, actually.
That's true. I mean, I do fluctuate, but I think this downward trend, Pledge, is kind of the way that it's going to be, dude. I mean, this is my I'm about to be divorced attitude. I have no reason not to work out. I'm home alone half the time. I got to go hit the gym. I got to go run and not eat like crap, and that's been part of it. I've kind of been better about eating, dude, and that's
There's a girl in your life.
What was that?
There's a girl in your life. That's the real reason.
Gotta keep up. Gotta keep up. It's amazing how that happens, right?
It's always how it happens, right?
It's called motivation, is what it's called, right? Got to be healthier. And now this weekend, I'm going to go hiking.
Some people are internally motivated. Some people are externally motivated.
And which am I, apparently? External, right? Gonna go hiking. Gonna go hiking this weekend in Austin, man. You know what people my age do.
Oh, fun!
Know? Yeah, we'll go to Barton Springs.
Do they? Do people your age hike? Is that what we do? I've never done that. Is that what we're supposed to be doing?
That is what we're supposed to be doing, man. Talking to James Pledger from San Antonio.
Okay, I didn't know.
Talking to Pledger of Sports, or my friend of 5 years, baby. My friend of 5 years. We're talking about the Cowboys, man, because the Cowboys won their preseason game. The first game they lost kind of in a brutal fashion, but who cares, right? It's preseason. But the second game, the starters played a little bit more. Cowboys won 27-12 over the Las Vegas Raiders. We got to see a lot more of Trey Lance. We got to see a lot of Deuce Vaughn, his 5'5" self, going out there and trying to make a case that, hey, we have no running game. Why not me? You know, I'm not saying 20 carries a game, but why not me? What would you say was the story of the game? Was it Trey Lance? Was it Deuce Vaughn? Was it the defense? Had that pick six as well. What was the story of the game for you? What was your takeaway, the biggest takeaway that you took from the Cowboys game this past weekend?
The story is that I've taken away from both of their games is this defense is going to be different under Mike Zimmer. It's going to be as good as it was at turning the ball over under Dan Quinn. I think they're going to be more disciplined under Mike Zimmer, which will allow them to be better against the run and better in not giving up, you know, a free first down on 3rd and 5 by jumping off sides. Like, they're going to be better because they're going to be more disciplined.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny that you mentioned that because the Cowboys have always been that team where it's about Dak Prescott throwing for 350 yards, throwing for 375, 400, getting 4 touchdowns, and the Cowboys win. Now, we've had Deron Bland go off for a lot of interceptions and Trayvon Diggs. But you're what it sounds like you're telling me is that maybe, just maybe, it's going to be a defensive-oriented team this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of has to be, in a sense. Last year, about 6 to 8 games through the season, and I can usually pinpoint the fatal flaw of what those teams are. I remember one year it was about clock management issues, and the fatal flaw in the playoffs was they couldn't control the clock well enough to get a final playoff at home against San Francisco. Then 2 years ago, it was the fact costly penalties. They were one of the most penalized teams in the league. And you had a penalty take away an interception by the Cowboys in San Francisco that year, and it kind of ended up costing them that game and prolonged the drive, and they ended up scoring and going ahead. And then this past season, I noticed this is everybody that wanted to talk about that defense being potentially historically great. It wasn't. And that's a very difficult thing to live up to. But the reason it wasn't was because the team was constructed in such a way that Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb were your best offensive weapons. They had to get going early. You get a lead and build it, and then you unleash that defense. That defense was not constructed to be able to play from a deficit. And so what happened? It hurt them against Green Bay in the playoffs. It hurt them against Buffalo in the regular season. It hurt them against Arizona. That was the first time we saw that fatal flaw of theirs, is if they don't get up and, take a huge lead where that defense can unleash and they get stuck in a close or have to play from behind it all, that defense wasn't good enough to carry them. And the offense had to pick up the slack. A lot of times it couldn't because other teams just decided CD, you weren't going to beat us, right?
Right.
And that was the fatal flaw of those 3 consecutive seasons under Mike McCarthy, where they've gone 12-5. And it's always been something different every year, right? So I don't know what the fatal flaw of this team will eventually end up being, but I like the way this team is kind of constructed. The only thing that scares me is their lack of a perception of a running game. But if they utilize it properly, that could be okay too. Like last year, we talked about it all year. They needed Zeke Elliott not to be the guy, but to be the guy in short yardage and third down situations as a blocker and as a goal line or short yardage guy. And they just didn't have that guy last year. Well, they have him now. Hopefully Rico Dowdle can be the other side of that coin that they'll need. But I have questions about their running game, and we can feel great for Deuce Vaughn. He's not making the team. He's not. He doesn't provide any value to this team.
Well, you don't think you don't think that he could be like a Darren Sproles type of guy? I mean, I'm not saying that you're going to give him, he's going to be the workhorse for 20 carries, but like Taysom Hill, I mean, no, Taysom Hill's a bigger dude, but like just somebody who changes the speed or the tempo of the game for a handful of running attacks.
Sure, I think he can be, but name a time that you've seen Mike McCarthy utilize that in any way. Like they're trying to get him reps at wide receiver to turn him into a Darren Sproles type. But for a Darren Sproles type to succeed, he has to be in a Darren Sproles type offense which will accentuate and highlight what he does. Mike McCarthy's offense isn't that.
Well, Darren Sproles at 5'6" back in the day. You have Deuce Vaughn at 5'6". He had 5 carries for 34 yards. His longest being 12 yards. Looked very electric. The person who led the team in rushing, by the way, was Trey Lance. Trey Lance had a great game. He had 34 yards rushing, including a touchdown run. 15 of 23 passing, 151 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, had a rating of 98.3. I'm going to tell you the best play he did. And by the way, Sam Salinas brings it up right now. What he did was, end of the second quarter, scrambling for a first down, understanding how much time was on the clock, and sliding to allow the Cowboys to call timeout with 1 second to go. And here comes Brandon Aubrey. 66 yards, would have been good from 70. We talked about whether it was the defense that was the story of the game, whether it was Trey Lance, was it the running game? It might have been Brandon Aubrey. 66 yards.
Brandon Aubrey is nice. I love Brandon Aubrey. He's legitimately, it's him and Tucker. They're the best kickers in the league, and Aubrey might be the best kicker in the league because Justin Tucker with that leg is starting to, I think, lose a little. So while he's still accurate as all get out, so is Brandon Aubrey. And you feel really comfortable when Brandon Aubrey is on the field, no matter if it's from 66 or from an extra point, which was an issue in the past for the Dallas Cowboys. So they've solved that mystery and found one of, if not the best kicker in the league. And that is a great find out of the USFL.
Mm-hmm. So it was a great find. I mean, an enormous find. The idea that all you got to do is get to midfield and you have a chance at points is a weapon that no other team has. I mean, Justin Tucker, maybe. But just get to the midfield because they got to the 48 and he was good from 66 and he had distance to go. It didn't just barely go over. He had about an extra 3 or 4 yards behind it. Get him to midfield. You have a chance every half. You have a chance to win the game down the stretch if it's a tie game. Brandon Aubrey might be the biggest weapon they have. Oh, we see the face, baby. We see the face.
I'm here, baby.
Pleasure joining us now from San Antonio Sports Star. He's the host of Extra Innings 6 to 7 Monday through Friday, 94.1 FM. Pledge, Trey Lance. Is Trey Lance QB2 or is he QB3 on this team? Because they keep trotting out Cooper Rush for one series for whatever reason or another. Then they hand the keys off to Trey Lance for the next 3.5 quarters. Who is QB2 as of right now?
I'm going to answer your question with a question. Do you trust Trey Lance?
You know what? I didn't trust him before.
Oh, so now that he's looked like a competent quarterback against guys that are going to be packing groceries at HEB next week, you feel better about it? Dude, don't be a victim of the hype and the circumstance of what a preseason game against four stringers that aren't going to be in the NFL. He's not a good quarterback. He's not. He's slow on his reads. The best thing about him is his ability to run the football, which, okay, do you want Tim Tebow? Cool. Tim Tebow doesn't belong in the league either.
Sam Salinas asking the question, at what point in the season will the calls for Lance to start come in? Remember, that's how Romo and Dak got their job. This is what Jerry Jones has come to rely on. Okay, first of all, you're using my words against me here, Pledge, because here's the thing. I once was really excited about the Ian Book era for the New Orleans Saints,
Oh, yeah, you were.
Yeah, and I saw Ian Book, by the way.
You saw 3 plays in preseason that made you go, wow.
Ian Book, who's now doing preseason behind Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs right now. I was at DraftKings Sportsbook, and I was like, is that Ian Book? And it was Ian Book. I'm not saying that Trey Lance is better than Cooper Rush.
He's not.
No, not. Cooper Rush went 5-1 as an NFL starter, right? So you look at Cooper Rush right now, and my question is basically who has the higher ceiling between the two? Because if you feel that the higher ceiling is Trey Lance, then you kind of have to gravitate in that direction. I know the higher floor is Cooper Rush. You know what you're going to get out of him. But Trey has at least shown the ability not to do stupid things. We saw Daniel Jones first quarter against the Texans this past weekend doing stupid crap that even Trey Lance wasn't doing. And that's Daniel Jones making $40 million quarterback in the Giants, right? In the number one media market in the country. We'll talk about the Texans in a second, but Trey Lance has shown competency. What I have been most impressed about is what he's not doing, or he's throwing the ball away when the ball should be thrown away. He's slow to read, man. He gets fixated on a certain receiver sometimes, and he gets stuck on them, right? So I see.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want with your season on the line.
I see the deficiencies, but the arm is there, the legs are there, the decision making is there. He just needs reps, dude. He just needs reps, and that's what they're giving him. And now I question Dak should be out there. Should Dak be out there right now? Because we see CJ Stroud out there. We see the young guys, Caleb Williams, all them out there. Patrick Mahomes doing behind the back throws. We're seeing these guys out there, but Dak's not.
It's all great until somebody steps on a leg wrong. Then you start questioning, why was he even playing in this meaningless preseason? If CJ Stroud takes a step and blows out a knee, we're asking, why in the hell did DeMeco Ryans even have him out there?
Right.
What was the point of it, right? So
but you can't play scared. You can't play scared. Is that what you're saying? Play scared?
Yes, but you can mitigate risk. Isn't that what you do as a financial advisor? You mitigate risk for clients?
Oftentimes do.
That's what the Cowboys are doing. They're mitigating risk because they know without Dak Prescott, their season is freaking over before it even takes off. Dak Prescott is that important to the success of the Dallas Cowboys. He is the most important piece.
He also has no contract as of now, so that's a big deal. Talking to James Pledger from San Antonio Sports Star. Houston Texans playing the Giants over the weekend. Daniel Jones, man, I don't know what the hell he did on that pick six. 6 yards in, we saw an interception by Derek Stingley later on in the game. We saw Stephon.
That was a good pick, though. That was a good pick.
Yeah, he got it at the 2-yard line. He looked good.
Like that Jalen Petrie pick six, that was a horrible decision by Daniel Jones. The Derek Stingley pick was just a hell of a play by Derek Stingley because Malik Neighbors looked like he had that.
I sometimes forget where Derek Stingley went to college. I always forget.
It always slips my mind.
Something like that.
There's this place. There's alligators there. It'll come to me.
Baby, he's an LSU Tiger. DBU, baby, DBU. And I remember when Stingley got drafted, you were. Oh
wait, isn't that when where your daughter went to school?
Yeah, she's graduated from there. Cum laude, baby. That's how we roll in the Jimenez household. I don't got no dummies as kids. All A's all the way through, baby, all the way through. But Houston Texans, we saw Stephon Diggs catch some passes. We saw Nico Collins. The weapons that they have, like who's wide receiver one? They all are. Right, they have a 1A, and 1B, because if you're going to say it's Nico Collins, I'll believe you. You can say it's Tank Dell, I'll believe you. You say it's Stephon Diggs, I believe you.
By the way, congratulations to Nick Caserio, because as this contract extension for Nico Collins plays out, that's going to look like a bargain of a deal.
Was it $25 million? Was that what that was? $25 million. They got a wide receiver one talent for $25 million, which in 2 or 3 years from now, it's a deal now. It's a bargain now, but 2 or 3 years from now, it's going to look like a steal.
Although, if it was Jerry Jones, he would have waited to see how this season played out and ended up paying peak money for the talent instead of getting them early on a lesser deal.
I know you need to get into the station real fast, so just give me like I got 2 minutes type of thing. Just let me know at that point. Okay. But I want to know your impressions of the Texans right now in preseason. What have you liked? What have you not liked?
There's a lot to like. There's a lot to like. CJ looks exactly like he did when he finished the season last year. He is in a groove. He looks like he is with his receivers where they need to be. They're getting Stephon Diggs involved, and Tank Dell, despite being shot in the leg and suffering a broken leg, looks like he hadn't lost a step.
Right.
So that is very, very nice. But also, that defensive line is going to be a nightmare when it's fully together for opposing quarterbacks.
This could be a special season, man. I mean, this is lining up to be a very special season for the Houston Texans. They have a very difficult. Sorry, you kind of pause there for a second. This could be a really special season. I like the way the things are lining up for the Texans right now. You mentioned the defensive line. Defensive line is great. They've drafted exceptionally well. DeMeco Ryans, this is the idea of having a young, energetic coach with ties to the Houston Texans that people want to come in and go with, right? We talk about like the Bill Belichick's of the world, are available. But no, what you need sometimes for a young team doesn't always work. You need to have a DeMeco Ryans type of guy who identifies with these players. And I love what he's been able to do ever since coming over from San Francisco. What a tremendous hire. Nick Caserio doing a bang-up job. They're drafting well. They're doing smart pickups on free agency. They're not doing stupid contracts. This is a machine that they're building over there. And as long as they're healthy, they're in the mix.
Smart pickups. You want to talk about smart pickups. Cam Akers looks like and I advocated for the Cowboys to kick the tires on him weeks ago before he was signed by the Texans. That is looking like a brilliant move by Nick Caserio right now. That's going to give them some depth behind Joe Mixon. And, yeah, I mean, there's going to be, mark my words, the Texans are going to have to make a trade next week before final cuts. There's going to be a receiver, whether it's Robert Woods or John Mechie, or there's going to be a receiver that somebody wants because they are so stacked at that position. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't be shocked to see Dameon Pierce get traded. I mean, sometimes people just don't fit in a system. And going from the power run scheme under Lovey and Culley that Pep Hamilton was running to this zone scheme, Pierce just doesn't look like he gets it. He doesn't know where the cutbacks are supposed to be. He doesn't feel it because power scheme, you're running to holes here, go get it. Zone scheme's about feeling where the hole's going to open up. It's NMB around here-ish, but you got to find it and then find the cutback off of that. That's how big runs happen in the zone system. And I truly believe that Dameon Pierce just needs a fresh start somewhere else. I don't think he'll ever get it in Houston.
Yeah, Pierce had a great rookie campaign back in the day. But as you were saying, I mean,
back in the day was 3 years ago, dude. It's not. Let's not act like he's 100 years old.
Oh, I know, but I didn't know the exact year, so I was using some terminology, dude. So picking at me, making fun of me. But you look at the depth chart there: Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, you have Dalton Schultz. Then you mentioned Noah Brown, Robert Woods, John Mechie. They have so much weaponry around them. But the most, to me, the sexiest part of all that, you have Laramie Tunsil. You have Shaq Mason. You've got Titus Howard. You've got the trenches there. That's just as sexy, just as tasty. This Texans team, I have dropped the Bengals as my Sancha team. I am I'm reuniting as I dropped off with Bill O'Brien. Okay.
Fair.
What's that?
That's fair.
Bill O'Brien was when they were 1 yard away from beating the Patriots, and they needed half a yard in Houston to beat the Patriots. They were going to upset them, and they punted the ball away to Brady with 2.5 minutes to go. And I was like, you don't deserve to win. You just don't deserve to win. Now, before I let you go, Pledge, was looking on ESPN.com today.
Mm-hmm.
They released their playoff predictor for college football, right? So apparently, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's 12 teams this year. Are they moving to 12 teams?
We're going to the 12-team format.
Oh, by the way, real fast before I forget, Cowboys game. Best part of it all was the chain gang was gone. They did a virtual spot. That was great. The graphics sucked ass, but that was great. I had to bring that up, by the way. So you have a 12-team playoff, right? And according to ESPN, the teams that have the highest chances of making the playoffs are at 79% the Georgia Bulldogs, 76% the Oregon Ducks, 68% in top 12, 68% Texas Longhorns, 67% chance Ohio State, 59% chance Notre Dame and Penn State. That's top 6. Bama at 7. Missouri at 8. Tennessee at 9. OU at 10. Florida State at 11. And at the 12th best odds, they have the Michigan Wolverines going back. 12th best odds, right? Other teams that are in the mix, according to them, include Clemson, LSU, Kansas, A&M, K-State, Louisville, Miami. But last on their rankings of the best odds, at 16%, the UTSA Roadrunners, baby, Meet Nation shows up. Their logo shows up saying that there's a 16% chance of UTSA making the college football playoff.
You going to put your money on it?
Somebody non-power 5's got to go. So here are the non-power 5s. Louisville, SMU, Boise State, UTSA.
Mm-hmm.
And they're at 16, 17, and 18% respectively.
Yeah. That tracks for a non-power 5.
Are
I mean,
you
those
not-
are the teams that you should have at the top of that list. And, you know, everybody's wondering who the starting quarterback is going to be for UTSA. I think the jerseys reveal tells me exactly who's going to be the starting quarterback for UTSA. When it was revealed that Eddie Lee Marberger was going to be 9, and then McCown was going to be a part of the 2-1-0 triangle of toughness numbers, and he would be number 2. That tells me he's your starting quarterback.
And
you don't get that number.
Yeah, it's a legit player.
You don't get that number.
Right. Hey, people are asking, oh, by the way, Kennesaw State, I believe it's August 31st, first game of the season at the Alamo Dome. I should be there. Real fast, people asking the question. Handle with Fist asked the question, what did you have for breakfast today? They want to know.
You know, I'm normally not a breakfast guy. Usually it's a protein shake, which, you know, I had a Chips Ahoy protein shake. But I actually did. I have my leftovers for breakfast this morning. I baked up my leftover chicken fried steak and tater tots from Longhorn Cafe last night.
Nice. Greg asking the question, Pledger, it's 104 degrees outside, the hottest day of the year. What are you doing in a hoodie?
You know as well as I do, those studios are cold, man. Those studios get chilly. And so, yeah, it's 104 outside. You know how much time I spend outside? This is going to be it.
Tony's saying, why does Pledge have a hoodie on? He's like those Texas teenagers wearing hoodies in the middle of a hot day. Dude, I had to tell my daughter this last year. I would pick her up from school. You know, she's starting 7th grade today. So, you know, happy belated birthday to Ava Renee. I told her like in May when I would pick her up from school, I don't ever want to see you in a hoodie outside. It's in this weather. It was like 100 degrees, 95 degrees. She's baking in the sun. She's like, oh, I feel so tired. I'm like, you know why? Because we're wearing a freaking hoodie and it's 95 degrees.
Get off my lawn. I'm old and stuck in my ways, and I don't know kids' fashion today.
Pledge, have you done iFly yet? Pledge, have you? I did.
I have not. I've been dying to do it. I saw it this weekend. That looked awesome.
They had to pump up the wind to 136 miles per hour to get my fat ass up to the top of the thing.
Haven't lost enough weight, apparently.
Everyone else was like, all you need is 118 degrees. All you need is a Cat 2 storm or a Cat 3 storm. You had to go like Cat 4 with me. You had to be like an actual damn tornado to make it happen.
Yeah. Just, Mike's safe in a low-level hurricane. He's not going anywhere.
Tornadoes, EFO, EF1, EF0, I'm fine, man. You know, it's so funny because they make you the wind, the tunnels they're going, right? So that you have the instructor there, and you're supposed to stand and put your hands like this, and you need to fall forward. And it's so weird to fall forward and get
into the fan.
I had slobber coming out of my mouth, and it went into my ear. I did 3 jumps, if you will, and it went. It was gross, dude. That is James Pledger, my man. Tell us about your show, man. What you got going on?
Oh, you know, it's Extra Innings with Pledge every weekday afternoon from 6 to 7. Just kind of get the last word on a bunch of things from throughout the day. So join me and hear the latest, my thoughts on kind of what's going on in sports, whether it's, you know, Spurs season ticket prices or which everyone should have seen coming. I heard you tease it. If you didn't see this coming, you're blind or just didn't want to know.
Pleasure. We've been friends for 5 years. Hopefully another 50 years to come, my man. You're my guy. The accusations you're throwing about me as to my motivations for losing weight, completely off base.
Oh, yeah?
Completely off base.
Uh-huh.
That is Pledge, 94.1 FM, 6 to 7 p.m. My man, love you, man. My boy.
Love you, brother. Have a great one.
Talk to you soon. So we have a question coming in from Tony asking the question, what's the weight limit for iFly? And believe it or not, there is a weight limit. It's 260 pounds. They actually weigh your ass before you get on there. 260 pounds. Mario, being mean. Is it because we said that we love each other? Is that a bad thing? Is it bad for guy friends to say that they love each other? Come on, man. I love Pledge. He's my dude, man. He's my dude. Hey, real fast, just want to say a big shout out to MCS General Contracting. All these chats that you're seeing right here are powered by MCS General Contracting. You can reach out to them at 210-774-9155. Again, 210-774-9155 for all your concrete placement needs. Talking about slabs for your home, swimming pools, whatever you got going on, patios, sidewalks, parking lots, they give them a call. Again, MCS General Contracting, 210-774-9155. I'm a client myself. They've done work at my house. They did a fantastic job. Also, don't forget to subscribe to Locked On Spurs. Jeff Garcia bringing your daily Spurs content as we're getting closer and closer to the beginning of camp. The Spurs last week revealed the entire season, more than 20 games on national TV, talking about TNT, talking about NBA TV and all of those places, ESPN. More than 20 games are going to be available, and probably a good thing because ticket prices are going up. Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs, Ken's 5. You can follow him at Twitter and on Threads at Jeff G Spurzone. You can also subscribe to the Locked On Spurs podcast. More than 5,000 subscribers on YouTube, Spotify. That's where I subscribe. Jeff Garcia, Locked On Spurs, Ken's 5. He does have an article right now that he posted over the weekend. And it's talking about the ticket prices in the secondary market for Spurs games because, don't get me wrong, you can go watch a Spurs game and, buy it from the team itself, buy it from Ticketmaster. But the secondary market, the StubHubs of the world, the Vivid Seats of the world are coming out saying that these prices are getting super expensive. In fact, demand is so high that you're seeing an increase of pricing of more than 100%. And that some of these tickets have gone up for up to 700% higher than before. Average tickets have gone from $102 to $256. Might be a good idea to call the Spurs and get one of those packages, right? Get an 8-game package, because if you're going to get it straight from them, it's going to be at the legit price. But it's these resale prices that are through the roof. And, you're looking at the cheap seats right now. Nosebleeds going for $55, $60, probably not even including the fees. We're going to be priced out unless we go out there and actually get these packages. But you can go on to kens5.com or follow Jeff Garcia on Twitter and Threads at Jeff G Spurzone if you want to know more about that story. He also has a story, and I really didn't get much into it, about Keldon Johnson and whether or not he's giving up that number 3 jersey. Apparently, he's going to keep it. Keldon Johnson looks like he's going to be keeping that number 3 jersey. He's had it while he was at Kentucky. He had it while he was in high school. So that is his number. But Chris Paul III came to the Spurs, and he's known as CP3 because Chris Paul is that jersey number 3. Fact of the matter is that it is Keldon Johnson's prerogative as to whether or not he wants to keep his jersey. Oftentimes, these star players will come out here, and buy the jersey number, but apparently not. Lots of comments coming in. Tony saying that I'm 252 on a good day. Hey, you qualify for iFly, baby. She can't take much more. Is that me because they needed 136 miles per hour to get my ass up in the air? Tim Gonzalez saying Sweep the League podcast will be on at 1 p.m. today. Look at all of what's going on, man, because, right now, I miss Joe. I miss doing the show at Joe's studio. We had better microphones, the better setup. I'm able to kind of do other things while I'm hosting the show. I can get my stats out and all that stuff. Right now, I'm kind of producing and doing my own show and doing the content all at the same time. It's a little bit rough, man. But you guys have been there with me on this. I really do appreciate it. Next week, Joe will come back. But our good friends in the building, Mike Taylor, Jeff, and Rudy J, are now they've moved their podcast to nighttime. So when everything gets going, for when sports really get going, you have this podcast, 10 a.m. Monday through Friday, to talk about Cowboys after the regular season games, talking about the Texans and the Texas Longhorns and UTSA football and Aggies, all of that, Spurs when that gets going. This podcast is going to be so freaking big, and you guys are on the ground floor, and we appreciate it so much that you've been able to do that. Sweep the League with Rudy Campos Jr. Rudy does a fantastic job. Oftentimes has very good guests. Alonzo's coming out saying Spurs should just trade Keldon Johnson. Trade Keldon Johnson. I like him on this team, man, especially at the price point that he's at. I don't mind him. I really don't mind him at all, man. But lots going on. We were talking about the fact that UTSA football is, according to ESPN, a 16% chance of making it into the college football playoff, the 12-team selection. Imagine that. Imagine UTSA making it to the playoff. Because right now, season has started, they're not ranked, but they did get 6 votes in the AP poll. Imagine them playing an LSU. Imagine them playing a Clemson or an OU. Imagine a playoff game where UTSA football is front and center and playing a Power 5 team would be so amazing. I don't care if it's Tennessee. I don't care if it's Missouri. Imagine if they go do that. That's amazing, man. Man, dude, we're getting some Keldon Johnson hate today, saying Keldon's every shot I make is a game winner, or at least that's how I'm going to act Keldon Johnson. My man, dude. Keldon, dude, at the price point that he's at, and if he's going to be the 7th or 8th man, I mean, I don't want Keldon Johnson starting. Okay? He was a starter for the Spurs for a few seasons. He got the bag, got a pretty good increase in price, but he's still at a pretty good price point right now. He's the 8th guy on the team. He's the 7th guy on the team. I don't know why we're giving him so much crap. He's no longer that guy. David Atwater reminded us that it was Tennessee that killed the living crap out of UTSA that last season. Tennessee's a pretty decent team, man. It's an SEC school. It is an SEC school. We were talking about a lot of different things. By the way, there's an article right now on ESPN talking about how former Spurs assistant coach and former San Antonio Silver Stars star Becky Hammon, who's now the GM over at the Las Vegas Aces, is saying on Sunday that she is denying that she mistreated a former player who was pregnant. So if you want to see that article, it's on ESPN.com. Tim Gonzalez saying college football week starts in exactly 0 NFL weekends. 0 weekends, because it's going to get going this week, man. It's going to get going this week. We're going to finally have some real games going on. Let's take a look at it. We've got on Saturday, this Saturday, Florida State, Georgia Tech, 11 a.m. 11 a.m. on ESPN. Then the following weekend, we got 4 games on Thursday. We got 1 game on Friday, and then the big old slew of games on Saturday. Right now, you're going to have Georgia taking on Clemson. Week 1, it's a battle between number 1 and number 14. That's an 11 a.m. start on ABC. That's going to be a great game. Texas plays Colorado State on ESPN at 2:30. Texas favored by 35 points in that game. Bama taking on Western Kentucky because that's what they do. Notre Dame traveling to Kyle Field. A&M a 2.5-point favorite in week 1. LSU, USC, the Vegas Kickoff Classic on a neutral site. LSU favored by 6 points in that game. LSU, again, ranked 13, USC number 23. And then you have a Monday night game if you want Monday night college football. September 2nd, Florida State taking on Boston College. Going to be super excited, man. As they're mentioning, David Atwater saying Florida State and Georgia's in Dublin. Amazing. Amazing. Lots of people coming in. Dude, more hate for Keldon Johnson. I'm not even going to play it, dude. There will not be any Keldon slander today. He has done nothing other than be a pretty decent guy. Now, Mario Cavazos is coming out and saying that he got Jeremy Sohan to sign his basketball card. You can have it once you admit he's your adopted son. Very nice. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Was it you, Mario, that was over at San Antonio FC earlier this past weekend? I think we got that comment that you mentioned earlier. Let me see if I could find it. No, it was Sam. That's right. Sam Salinas reaches out and says, could have gotten a special guest, but I don't know how Castle would have taken it if you asked him to meet his dad and go on his podcast. Sam Salinas reached out to me over the weekend, sent me a text message. and it showed a photo of him with some guy, and it turns out that that guy was Stephon Castle of the Spurs, who went to the SAFC game. And apparently there was a swapping of hats and all that stuff that went on, and he posed for a photo. Stephon Castle, rookie for the Spurs, number 4 overall pick. Fantastic, man. That's fantastic. But no, we did not get him on this podcast, but that would have been pretty cool. That would have been pretty cool. So we had James Pledger on from San Antonio Sports Star. Don't forget, again, his show is Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. on 94.1 FM. And Pledger talks a lot about, recaps the weekend that was, especially on Mondays. But I was kind of puzzled as to the hate he was giving Trey Lance out there, because Trey Lance is looking more and more competent by the week, more and more comfortable. Trey Lance is a player, because of COVID and because of scheme, even though he was a top 4 pick in the NFL draft a few years ago, he didn't get a lot of reps. And now you're seeing him do it. And I've been impressed with Trey Lance. Trey Lance is not lighting it up. He's not the second coming of anything special yet. But he's not doing silly, stupid mistakes. He's handing the ball off the way he should be handing the ball off. He's going through his progressions a little bit better as the quarters go by. His arm looks fine. His arm strength looks fine. He can run. He can identify the clock. He throws the ball away when it's appropriate to do so. I'm just saying that the Cowboys have a little something there. Is he going to be the starter, the successor, the heir apparent to Dak Prescott? No, that would be a big downgrade. But I am more impressed with Trey Lance right now than I was before the season started, the preseason started. He's going out there. Is he balling? No. He just doesn't suck. He's looking eye. 1 touchdown run, 1 touchdown pass, no fumbles, no interceptions. What more do you want in a preseason game? He's looking okay. And if he's going to be fighting for that QB2 position, I don't know. David Outwater is saying Mike Taylor hates Lance as well. Well, I'm looking at it from a different position, different standpoint, because I'm not a Cowboys fan, and he is. We love Mike Taylor. Fantastic show. But he is... You know that if you go to Trey Lance and you move away from Dak Prescott, you're going to suck. And that's a problem the Cowboys have, is that if they move away from Dak Prescott, they go from a 12-win team to a 6-7-win team. I don't care if it's Cooper Rush or Trey Lance out there. They lose. They're going to start losing. They're not going to win because of Dak Prescott. Dude, I had somebody over the weekend tell me, well, what about trying to compare the regular season stats of Patrick Mahomes and Dak Prescott, how they're really similar? And he goes, and look at what they do in the offseason. I'm like, in the postseason. In the postseason, Dak does nothing. Against the Packers, if I was asking this question, when the Packers beat the living crap out of the Cowboys in Jerry World, how embarrassing it was to see Aaron Jones just run the ball up the middle every single play, to see Jordan Love look like a better quarterback than Dak Prescott. How many yards did Dak Prescott throw that game? 403. Why was it 403? It's because the Packers have basically a prevent dime type of defense when they went up 3 scores. Was not impressed by Dak Prescott throwing for 403 yards. Any quarterback could have done that with that defense and lack of pressure. So the stats that Dak sometimes does are very, very shallow, very, very hollow. It's junk stats half the time. And that's the thing. He's a good regular season quarterback. In the playoffs, he's James Harden, man. He's CP3. Excellent in the regular season, wets the bed in the postseason. That is who he is. Tony coming out saying Lance needs a chance. He got seriously hurt last year, right? Question coming in from Chris saying, can Lance be a Taysom Hill? So last night, the Niners, it was on Fox, the Niners beat the Saints in their preseason game. It really only the first half mattered to me because that's when the starters were in. We saw Derek Carr actually look competent out there. Taysom Hill scored a touchdown, completed a 16-play drive. It was like 90 yards, basically. And on play 16, 4th and goal, we see Taysom Hill make it into the end zone. Barely, but that guy's strong. I love watching Taysom Hill, but he's a one-of-one. Taysom Hill is exciting because he can run the ball. He can pass the ball. He can catch the ball as a tight end and as a receiver. He can play fullback. He does everything. Taysom Hill is a baller. Love him. He's already in his mid-30s. He's not going to be doing this forever. But it's so much fun to watch him play and to see what past coaches, Sean Payton, did with him and to incorporate him into the team. Can Trey Lance do that? I don't think Trey Lance has the body style for that. And he's not as diversified in what he brings to the table. If you're going to have him come in as a wildcat option, I can see that. So maybe that's what you're talking about. But as far as having him line up as a tight end or line up as a receiver, I don't see it, man. Mario Cavazza says, you're giving Trey Lance more love to him than local Dallas radio voices saying he's not an NFL quarterback. I'm not saying that he's a starting quarterback right now. Is he a clipboard holding quarterback? Yeah. He ain't bad. Like what we're seeing from Trey Lance right now is competency. Pledger came out and said, yeah, but the guys he's going up against are going to be stocking for HEB in 3 weeks, so they're not going to make an NFL team. I get that. But what do you ask of a quarterback? What's the number one thing you ask of a quarterback? Is it to win? No, the first thing you ask of a quarterback is do not give the game away. Do not throw the ball away. Do not turn the ball over. That right there is what you ask a quarterback to do, number one. And guess what he's done this entire preseason? He's held on to the ball. He doesn't fumble the ball. He hasn't been. He hasn't thrown interceptions. He's been not throwing interceptions. Didn't have one this last game. And when it comes to stupid plays, he's avoiding them. And when there's nothing there, he's throwing the ball away. And when pressure's coming, he's sensing it and he's getting outside and getting first downs and running for first downs and knows where the yard markers are, the sticks are. We're seeing competency in Trey Lance. Am I saying that he's going to be a great NFL quarterback and he should be starting? No. But first and foremost, he needs to make this team to stay on this team. And I think he's done enough to do so. Who's the backup quarterback? Is it Trey Lance or is it Cooper Rush? Well, you know what you're going to get with Cooper Rush. Trey Lance is the unknown. I will tell you this much, though. Look at Trey Lance. Look at Cooper Rush. Trey Lance has a higher upside. And you can see that from the beginning. Why? Because Trey Lance can run the ball. Meantime, you're watching the Texans play. My God, that's going to be a good team this year. That Texans team, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs, weapons upon weapons upon weapons. And in mid-November, Houston goes into Jerry World to take on the Cowboys. And that's going to be a great game. And I think that's going to be a test for the Dallas Cowboys defense. Can they keep up with all those weapons? Tank Dell, Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs on the outside. Dalton Schultz going back to Dallas, right? Joe Mixon, Damian Pierce, all of these guys. Cam Akers, all of these guys. And then you have Laremy Tunsil at left tackle, and you've got all of the great offensive linemen that they have, and then you have that defensive line. This Texans team is poised to take a leap. The Chiefs, Travis Kelce is turning 35 this season. I know they have Xavier Worthy. He's a rookie. He's going to be able to open things up. But you might see a regression from the Chiefs. At least that's what I'm hoping. And I'm hoping that teams like the Texans, the Bengals move up in the AFC. Maybe you finally get some more balanced play from the Baltimore Ravens and they move up. Lamar Jackson's a great quarterback. He just can't do it on his own. Tony reaches out and says, why do they hate on Lance, guys? This kid hasn't had the time to really show what he has. Serious injury when he played for the Niners. He deserves to be QB 2 and 3, or at least one of them, right, to be on the team. Drew Show. Hey, welcome, Drew. Haven't seen your post today. Says it's simple. Jerry, Dak, all you have to do is let that come down to a Kawhi-type injury. Doc, enjoy a vacation while free agency next year in Aruba. Jerry, let's see what he does. Let's see what Trey can do. Again, the speculation is that what happens if the Cowboys go 2-4 to start the season? Do they just tank at that point, get rid of Mike McCarthy as head coach, and just tank the rest of the year to try to get a quarterback? There are some pretty good quarterbacks this upcoming draft. You know, Shadur Sanders is a big name out there. That's Deion Sanders' son. Quinn Ewers of Texas. Dude, if Quinn Ewers takes Texas to the playoffs and into the semifinals again, Quinn Ewers is going to be a big name. Going to be a very, very, very big name. Speaking of big names, when it comes to finance, guess who's a big name in the industry? This T-shirt we're wearing, dude. Again, my name is Mike Jimenez. My cell phone number is 210-508-0369, 508-0369. Drop me a line if you have questions about anything financial related when it comes to things like investments. old 401ks, IRAs, benefits at work, life insurance, disability, long-term care. I'm a guy that does all that. I've been doing this for 19 years, and I have a pretty strong practice. If you have any questions when it comes to all that, 210-508-0369. I am a fiduciary, which means I have to do everything I say I do needs to be in the client's best interest. Again, I've been doing this for 19 years. You can go to brokercheck.org, type in Michael Jimenez, San Antonio, Texas, learn more about me, my experience. The fact of the matter is that when it comes to the numbers of complaints I've ever had from a client, 0. It's listed on there. It's a government website. Again, 210-508-0369. Financial practice for 19 years, investments and insurances. That is what I do. Let's go back to the chat. Tony, talking about the time that I helped him with life insurance back in the day. You're welcome, my man. Drew Show saying, hey, what's up with that scrub Kelvin holding on? Tony saying, GOAT Dave Ramsey, but you're Scottie Pippen, Mike. Dude, okay. Dave Ramsey. I love Dave Ramsey when it comes to matters of like the debt snowball and all that makes sense. Everything else besides handling of debt, I don't understand the Dave Ramsey approach at all. He had a person interview him the other day. I think the other day, it was earlier this year. And it went viral on social media because it sounded so stupid. Dave Ramsey is all about being out of debt. He says he hates debt, doesn't want you to have debt. I get it, right? But there is such thing as good debt. I'll give you an example. I'm in a house right now that I purchased 7 years ago. My interest rate on this house is 2.625. That's basically free money. Like if I could get rid of, like this house is 3,000 square feet. If I got rid of this house and moved to an apartment, I'd be paying the same price, right? Because interest rates are so low. They asked him the question, hey, if we gave you $1 million at 0% interest rate, would you take it? And he said no. And that right there is dumb. Because you could have just taken that money, put it in a CD and gotten 5% and paid this back off at 0% and made what's called a positive arbitrage, a positive transaction, right? The pros outweighed the cons when it comes to it all. Dave Ramsey is great when it comes to managing debt, the debt snowball, getting an emergency fund and all that stuff. But when it comes to investment advice, when it comes to that type of stuff, maybe give it to somebody who actually has licenses in that. He doesn't. Look him up. Go to brokercheck.org. Look up the investment license that Dave Ramsey has. He's also very, 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 very aggressive when it comes to how he puts proposals out there. And he says that people get 12% a year. Get the F out of here. Tony saying, I agree with Dave Ramsey about 80%, but I need a good car for no issues going to work. It's funny. Yeah. He's like, oh, eat red beans and rice for 30 years while you pay things off. Meantime, everything's getting more expensive. Save for a 20% down payment on a home and all that stuff. One other thing, he hates leasing vehicles. I love leasing vehicles. I want to know what I have before I buy it. I'm going to go trade in my truck in the next couple of months or so as I'm finishing up my divorce. I need a good truck. And I have a little Tacoma, just getting back into that truck life. I might spring for a splurge for a Tundra when it's all said and done. Drew Show for my cold dead hands. Who was that again? Oh, okay. First of all, I know what you're saying, right? For my cold dead hands. This is not Charlton Heston. This is Charles Eston. He's a singer, actor. He was on speaking of Drew, he was on the Drew Carey show. He was it called Whose Line Is It Anyway? Charles Eston is a great performer who's on the TV show Nashville. Went to go see him in concert in Nashville earlier this summer. It's pretty good, man. Pretty good. Well, fellas, I'm going to call it a show, man. I'm going to call it a show. I got to get to work, and I also got to get my kids going. My kids' first day of school, it was cool telling Ava, to make good choices as she was let go. As I got her out of the car, and she goes, Dad, I always do. And that was really cool. I also got to do my weigh-in real fast because I haven't done my weigh-in for today. But the last I checked, I'm down 20 pounds over the last 18 months. The goal is to lose 10 more. I don't want to be skinny. I don't want to be skinny. I just want to be healthier. That's basically it. Lose 10 more pounds. Go from third trimester Michael to first trimester Michael, and I'll be happy. Sam saying good show. Sam, love you, man. Thank you so much for everything. Thank you again also to James Pledger from San Antonio Sports Star. Subscribe to San Antonio Sports Star as well. Again, 6 to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. Extra innings with James Pledger. Everyone have a fantastic day, and I'll be back tomorrow. Joe Garcia will be back next week, and everything will be back to normal. Y'all take care.